Very good evening to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us today on the Evening Review. My name is Taivon Jabela, your host. Tonight we are happy to be joined on the set by the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sport, that is Emma Kantema-Gaomas, to fill us in on a number of issues and developments at the portfolio of youth and sport. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for making time.
Good evening to everyone. Good evening to the viewers.
Wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you haven't been on the platform for a long time, so we can't believe we have you here tonight. That's why we are going to start with the question of sport, really.
Okay.
The Brave Warriors played in Johannesburg last week, our home match. And, you know, we are robbed of the opportunity to watch our team because, of course, we all know the status of our national stadium, Independence Stadium. It falls under your portfolio. What can you tell us about how far we are from being able to use the facility again?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because I think it has become a much talked about topic, especially in Namibia. And I have to say that it's a situation that's also not pleasing to us.
Yeah.
We are not happy about it. Hence, we have prioritized the upgrade and renovation, especially of the Independence Stadium that we know has been declassified following CAF and FIFA's inspection. I have to mention to you that, as you know, that this stadium was built long way back, 1960s or so.
Yeah.
So back then, it was not built to comply with the CAF and FIFA requirements.
Yeah.
But now, following that inspection, we have now started to put the upgrade in motion.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have seen during our motivation of our vote 27 in Parliament, where we have now really made allocations so that we are able to upgrade the stadium. Now, I just want to mention that, because this is also one of the questions that came up during our budget debate, that how far are you? What is it that you have done?
Yeah.
You may recall that last year the Treasury gave us 50 million.
Yeah.
And when we started to embark on the procurement process, to have the consultant on board who will be the principal agent, that procurement process was then reversed because there was an omission in the advert, so we needed to redo. Now, when we started redoing, then came the initiative that we were going to bid to co-host AFCON.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, it kind of backtracked us because we needed to first conduct an facility audit. So that audit has been done. The report was tabled to the minister last week, and it detailed the steps and the processes that we need to do in order for us to bring the stadium to compliant.
Yeah.
Now, in short term, what we are doing, because the audit did not only focus on Independence Stadium, but it also looked at Swakopmund.
Yeah.
Because remember, if we have to co-host, we'll have to do it in 2 different towns.
Yeah.
It also focused on Oshakati. Now, in terms of the Independence Stadium, we are now looking at the short-term measure to ensure that our team play at home. So within that short-term measure, we have to comply to issues that were raised in Category 1 and Category 2, and that is now something that we are going to start doing. In fact, today, there was a meeting that the ED attended with the CAF inspectors to take us through in terms of what are the steps that we need to rectify for us to complete Category 1 and 2. That will then bring us to the compliant part for us to enjoy our home game at home.
So the inspectors are here? The CAF inspectors already, or was it an online meeting?
No, it was an online meeting, but the consultant who then did the facility audit is in the country now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be the next step, and hoping that we will expedite, and we really also want to see that our home games become home games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing Cameroon and produce the results that we produced last week, that is, I mean, if it was home,
I can
that
just
would have
imagine.
been double the tally.
Yes.
Tell me, Minister, what is the status of the CAF bid? When are they letting us know whether we are successful or not?
Remember, it has not opened yet,
Okay.
so we are still at the stage of document preparation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that the state of our facilities can affect our bid, the confidence of CAF to give us the tournament?
I'm not so sure, but I think it all depends on how do you motivate your case. How do you make business case? How do you make it convincing?
Yeah.
Because remember, you're talking of 2027, not next year.
Not
so
next year.
it still give us sufficient time to get our house in order.
Yeah. Will we get our house in order irrespective of the outcome of that bid? Will we still then say, look, fine, if we get it, we get it, but if we don't get it, we still have an obligation towards our sports people to have all the facilities running? No,
definitely. That's why I mentioned that with the Independence Stadium, we are not only going to focus on the bigger picture now, that is for the AFCON 2027, but we are focusing on having it compliant for now.
Yeah.
So in addition to the Independence Stadium, let me just take you through quickly,
please.
According to the budget that we have tabled in terms of what we have allocated. We have, in our budget, we allocated 70 million, that is for development projects.
Yeah.
Of the 473 million that the ministry was allocated. Now, focusing on the sports complex, we have the construction of a Nana Sports Complex that has been coming for a while now, but we are nearing the end, that being phase 5. So an amount of 10 million Namibian dollars have been allocated in order for us to finalize the soccer field, tartan track, 3 multi-purpose courts that will be able to cater for netball, volleyball, as well as basketball.
Okay.
So in the other stadiums also that have been allocated funding for is the one in Marintal, that is in Hardap region. So an amount of 2 million has been set aside so that we renovate, especially the ablution block and tartan track and so on. So that's also been allocated funding. And also to mention in Karas region, we are part of the Lodrets waterfront, and in that we've allocated an amount of 2 million to contribute to the ongoing construction of the outdoor sport facility, and also a swimming pool, a squash court, basketball and netball court, and amongst others is the amphitheater and so. So we have really this year prioritized the renovation and upgrade of our sports facilities. And also I have to mention that in the Rongo region, the construction of Yusako Sports Complex. So an amount of 2 million has been allocated, and it was made available following the feasibility study and documentation that was completed to now start the process to construct the sports complex. That's now in Erongo region. So you can see that really we have prioritized the construction, especially the renovation and maintenance. Because there's an amount of 37,500,000 that was allocated to upgrade and to maintain. Because some stadiums might just require lighting and so we have really provided for that.
Wonderful. How do we make sure that Oshakati Stadium is not only good for political rallies?
It has never been good for political rallies only. You may recall the last newspaper cup was held in Oshakati.
Yeah, the children had grass up to their knees here because the things are things are not as cozy as they should be.
Yeah, so we also upgraded it, I think a year before. Yeah, we did touch up. Yeah, and I have to say that when you look at our stadiums, I think where we stand now, Oshakati Stadium is in good shape. Yeah.
What is your overall take as a ministry on the allocation of the funds that the Ministry of Finance has allocated to you for the year ahead? What is it sufficient to carry out a substantive amount of work?
Yeah, I mean, considering that we have competing priorities. We have competing priorities such as health, education, amongst others. We also, you have seen an increase in our social grant, especially when it comes to catering for the most vulnerable people of our society. So really, I think it's a very good balance where you want to balance your economic sectors and also your social sectors. It
is good that you mentioned, Minister, competing priorities, especially the old age people, the old age allocations. I have said time and again, and I've written my editorial just a day after the minister has tabled the budget, and I said in that editorial that there seems to be this overemphasis on old people, while the youth are hardly catered for. I mean, what is, for example, the need of adding $100 more to my grandmother's pension thing if my cousin at home doesn't have a job, who's a young person?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, are we robbing Peter to pay Paul?
I wouldn't say that. I think it's a matter of balancing.
Yeah.
Because we also know that most of the time our grandmothers are head of the households.
And
so who do they share these meager resources with?
Yeah, they should be taking care of our dreams as children was always to come back and take care of our parents.
Yes,
now it's our parents who are taking care of us because we don't have jobs.
Yeah, no, I do understand. Like I was saying, it's an issue of balancing it. And that's why now we really have to redouble our efforts, as we've said in our motivation, in order for us to continue to empower the youth by empowering them, either by training them, providing them with skills, and also is bridging that gap with the funding issue in terms of for the youth who would like to engage themselves in entrepreneurial activities.
Absolutely. We go for a quick break and then return with the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sport.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all corners of Namibia. NMH at 1 aims to reach viewers countrywide who are interested in current affairs in a short and sweet format. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: The Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, Namibia Media Holdings, Irongo, and Vindic Express. To share your news or advertise on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toivon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The Agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The Agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
The conversation on the show continues. Deputy Minister, there's a lot of unhappiness currently in the country among young people. Youth unemployment is very, very high compared even to general unemployment, meaning the youth are the most affected by unemployment in the country. Some of them are demonstrating on the street, some of them are getting arrested. I mean, when as a ministry, when you observe all these things, you know, what are your thoughts? What is the plan for them?
Well, Toivo, the youth unemployment issue is one issue that keeps us awake at night as leaders of this country, and we have observed the uprising because we know that youth unemployment issue is now a most pressing issue than before. Why? Because the demographic has changed. the youth now consist the majority of the population. In fact, it's across the continent. When you look at Africa, Africa is the youngest continent in the world now. You have over 2/3 of inhabitants being the youth. But as a ministry, we really exist to, or we strive to empower the youth by imparting skills, that is now providing basic skills training. And I always like to explain this because people always think that we are duplicating efforts with VTCs, with our National Youth Service. But the focus for the ministry, where we focus on what we call your out-of-school youth. We have dropouts, youth who have dropped out of school for one reason or the other, with teenage pregnancy or whatever the reason is. Let me say you drop out from grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. What do we do with the youth? They cannot access tertiary education, so we provide them with that basic skills in welding, agriculture, tailoring, computer literacy. Really is to provide them with a skill to enhance their employability, or to also encourage them to be self-employed, to start up an enterprise. So these are really one ways that we are achieving youth empowerment. And secondly, for the youth, then we've at least went up to grade 12. Our National Youth Service then caters, because the National Youth Service run around 11 accredited courses where we train the youth in various courses, and then by training them, you are again capacitating them in order to increase their chances of being employed. Thirdly, we also focus on youth and health, which is very important, because issues of mental health and sexual reproductive health is very key in ensuring that we have productive youth who are contributing to the mainstream of economy. So in that, we provide comprehensive sexuality education. We also have youth-friendly clinics that provides the services of family planning, issues of GBV. It's really just that whole psychosocial support that we provide to the youth. And thirdly, we also provide youth entrepreneurship, where we are promoting the youth to start up with their own businesses, knowing that we have seen the jobs have diminished, the economy is not growing at a rate that can absorb most of the, especially even the graduates. So we run several schemes. We have the youth credit scheme. You have seen in our budget, we've also made a budgetary allocation towards youth credit scheme. And also together with the National Youth Council, that is a body that is advocating for the needs and aspiration of the youth. They also run what we call credit for youth in business. So this is a funded BEX collateral, especially knowing that these are some of the challenges for youth to access funding is collateral. So the National Youth Council also have a program that's called Youth Development Grant, where then the youth organizations that are affiliated to National Youth Council can access this funding. And also for the youth to access equipment aid scheme for them to start up with enterprises, to be self-employed or to employ the others. So these are really among some of the issues that we empower the youth, because remember, as a ministry, we don't create employment, but we create that conducive environment for the youth to be capacitated in order for them to be self-reliant or to be employed. Yes.
You are mentioning a very important point, that you do not create employment. I think that clarification is important. But there are also many synergies that I think are crucial. You can advise me otherwise, but many of the challenges that young people have in the country at the moment are not the direct mandate of the ministry. Does that put you in a difficult position where, because our conclusion as a public would just say, yes, it's the Minister of Youth, but some things do not really fall under you?
We get that often, Toivo, almost on a daily basis. And I think it's our duty to explain and to educate the nation out there.
Yeah.
You know, youth development is a multifaceted and a very complex one.
Yeah.
And it requires really multi-stakeholders to come on board, including all the other offices, agencies, and private sectors as well, including the development partners. Now, in terms of policy directive, we have the National Youth Policy that really places emphasis on coordination.
Yeah.
So as a result, we have a steering committee that is representative from the various OMAs that plays a key role in youth development, and also not to forget the civil society, because they also play a very important role in our developmental partners.
Yeah.
So we are really hoping that with that we are able to see more youth mainstreaming in various entities. For example, when it comes to funding, I mean, we have the credit scheme in the Youth for Credit in Business, but DBN plays a critical role.
Yeah.
Remember, they have the skills-based lending, which for me is a very good initiative, which mostly focuses on the graduates who are unemployed. Because back then, the unemployment was very high in the youth who are not in school, not educated, or not trained. But for now, we are starting to see more of those who have graduated from tertiary. So this skill now provide the youth with the funding to really start up with their own. I mean, you have young professionals like in the legal fraternity, you can open up your law firm. And also it gives quite a big amount of money for artisans, for example. Because we are also encouraging youth to partake or to study in vocational subjects. Because we know that this is what has developed countries. So this facility then also provides funding to the youth in this space. But also there are several initiatives to evolve. For example, I was listening and I was contributing to the Minister of Urban and Rural Development when he was tabling his budget. Within that, under the program of rural development, 6 million is earmarked for income generating activities in various regions. And we have seen this running. The adverts where the regional councils will advertise for microfinancing. So these are also some of the initiatives that the youth can really take advantage of, especially when it comes to those in the rural areas.
Absolutely. Should young people create jobs for themselves? We hear politicians say this a lot, while some of them in their late 70s and they are still employed in government, but they are telling young people to create jobs for themselves. How do we, is there a, look, I mean, there are obviously young people who put up their hand and say, I don't want to work for anyone, I just want, after university, I want to do my own thing and maybe employ others. But there are many of us who are just wired to work for to be employed.
No, in fact, when you read widely, I do read a lot about youth entrepreneurship. Most governments in Africa, for example, in most developing countries, are really encouraging the youth to partake in entrepreneurship as to create jobs. Because we cannot only look at the multinationals. Like you're saying, really they will graduate and decide, look, this is where I want to venture. But now you look at the economy that is not expanding, the private sector is not expanding to absorb. For now, we know government is the largest employer. So what other alternative is there? We are not saying that youth just create your own employment, but we are looking at an alternative.
Absolutely. The final question then, Minister, is in the next, we have 1 minute, in the next 12 months, what does the ministry anticipate to conclude? What are those radical interventions that you think are worth mentioning in conclusion?
I want to mention the project that we have on the charcoal, where an allocation of 2 million has been provided for, because these are some of the self-employment initiatives that we are encouraging the youth, and also is the credit scheme, where we are going to, we've budgeted 2 million.
Yeah.
And really is to encourage the youth to engage in startups, especially the small businesses where they are. And also very important now is the developing and promoting of sport. You have seen that we've made a huge allocation to support Team Namibia at the upcoming Olympics 2024. Our rugby team is going to the World Cup. We've allocated 16 million. Hockey, African Games. So really as government, we have provided enough support to prepare our teams as well.
Wonderful. Minister, thank you very much for your time. We'll welcome you back here when the stadium is done.
Surely.
Thank you. That is Emma Kantema-Gaomas. She's Deputy Minister of Youth and Sport, filling us in again on the latest at the ministry. And as you heard, there are plans for us to start watching soccer again at the Independence Stadium. Thank you for watching.